Hello and welcome to another episode of the ETPanache PowWow series, where we talk to leaders about their journey and what keeps them going. Our guest today was just 25 years old when she decided to change the face of senior living in India. But in a country where the term hasn't always been so popular, it wasn't an easy journey for Singh Vachani, who also had the mammoth task of convincing the board of the Max Group for her 600 crore dream project.
Category creators always have the toughest road to follow. I can't imagine privilege ever being a burden. My father has taken succession very seriously.
Hi Tara, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, thank you for having me.
To begin with, Tara, the social structure in India is changing. Joint families are disintegrating. It's a time for more nuclear families. But at a time when the concept of Antara was conceived, it wasn't as much so. So can you take us back to the start?
Sure. It all started with a conversation I had with a very enterprising lady in Hong Kong who was in the service department business and had started to explore diversifying her space into the senior space in Asia. And that's when the idea came to say if Asia and Southeast Asia can be thinking about this, why are we as India and Indians not thinking about this? And when we started to evaluate the statistics, just pure statistics, quantitative, we weren't even going into the emotions or the social stigma element, we realized this is a huge population in need of products and services. That hypothesis is even true today. We knew we would have barriers. We knew that while nuclear families are coming into existence, it's not happening at the rate at which a product or a service like Antara would be so easily accepted. But we really believed that we had to be category creators, and category creators always have the toughest road to follow. And we knew it was a long journey, and a journey that would require a fair amount of commitment. And so at that stage, just the data and lots of conversations I had with people who were eventually going to be my target audience just gave me the confidence to start this journey.
But did you face any resistance in finding your right target group, like a market for a country where senior living isn't always a term that's very popular? I won't say unwelcome, but not very popular. So
absolutely. If I could spend an hour talking to you about our challenges, but it helped us refine what Antara stands for today. I can very confidently say that we are now Antara 2.0. We are embarking on our new 5-year journey, which is very exciting for us. And the reason we've earned the right to have a 2.0 is because of the challenges we face. So yes, people didn't understand living in a community that had only people of similar ages. They didn't understand why we had a lease model and not a typical freehold model. They didn't understand why we were priced the way we were. And they definitely didn't understand why these 3 things were happening in a place like Dehradun. So it definitely has been an uphill climb, but we have always tried to be transparent and create conversations around why this decision may be applicable to you. And I think that those conversations and the way we have gone about the narrative slowly ease these challenges for us as the last 5 years have gone.
So from that, I want to ask you 2 things. One, that was a setup for changing the mindset outside, right? But there was also coming back to, say, the Max board and then convincing them that this would work in a country like India.
Sure. And the truth is that effort and work to convince both the Max board and the Antara board is ongoing, because India is changing. Every 12-18 months we have new challenges that we have to mitigate that changes the economic models of what we are trying to do. But nobody can debate with me quantitative data. We are 140 million people over the age of 60. We have just come out of a very extensive research to show that this could be a $12 to $14 billion market in India. It already is, but it's fragmented. So people are in this age group spending money on products and services, but in a very fragmented way. So you can't contest or challenge me on that data to say that there is value pools that exist. The question is, how can we be very smart in executing products and services in the value pools? And therefore, we had a convincing story. We had it 5 years ago where we showed our business model, our business plans to the board, and they were therefore convinced this was a financially sensible space to get into. Obviously, the challenge is to tweak that model. And today we're back to the drawing board, having taken all of those learnings, gotten outside views, and again rebuild the financial aspiration of Antara, which the board has very openly supported us. So no one ever contested the concept or the need for products and services. The question always was, how do you execute products and services to make it financially sustainable? And I think we are constantly refining our journey to answer that. And let's see how the next few years go.
Okay, so also going back to why, you said, why is it happening in Dehradun? That's also one of my questions. Why Dehradun? Why did you pick Dehradun?
So that was more of an organic route that we took. At that stage, Max Healthcare was creating its first out of NCR hospital, which was in Dehradun. Till very recently, Max Healthcare was operated by Max. So it was very much part of our synergy and part of our entire holistic approach to Vana, which is a wonderful wellness retreat created by my brother, also had taken shape in Dehradun. 3, Dehradun has always been known as a retirement destination.
It is.
For weather, pollution. And 5, the capital cost of land made a business model viable as a pilot or a starting point. And so when we put all of these 5 things together, we felt it was a great place to start. At that time, we also were going to launch something in the NCR in Gurgaon. And the land issues we faced were so cumbersome, and we got so engrossed in perfecting Dehradun that we said, you know what, let's perfect that and then start to take the effort and capital and investment and time to build something that would be higher stakes in this geography, which now we finally
in Noida.
Yes.
So then why was Noida simpler than Gurgaon? Because earlier the plan was Gurgaon.
Actually, when we started our 2.0 plan, we still do. It was not just the one in NCR. We want to be able to do at least 2 to 3 residences in the coming 2 to 3 years. One in Noida, one in Gurgaon, and one in maybe another part of northern India. It just so happened Noida happened first. But we are still pursuing the other projects and opportunities.
And are there plans to then move down to south? And
the market is very ripe to be in the south. But I think we want to really implement our learnings and create the management bench strength and prove that our model and our hypothesis is correct in the market most familiar to us, where our brand is also in fact the strongest. Once we've been able to do it in this geography, we definitely would like to go to other parts of India. But the truth is, NCR is 22 million people. If you take 10% of that and keep dissecting it to even people over 60 living by themselves, i.e. not living with children, of the economic affluency that we require for our products, it's still a huge number to target. And our communities are 500 apartments. So there is actually no financial upside to go to the south till we're not very confident of our product and services in an area where the demand is huge.
So I remember I visited Antara in 2017 when it launched, and it changed my idea of senior living in a lot of ways. And everything, the attention to detail, from the build quality to the food. I remember a particular buckwheat waffle thing I remember. So what was the inspiration behind all of it? How did you know that it was, of course, health was important and building a good space for living was very important, but it goes beyond that. For me, I think it was the attention to detail that really made it stand out from a regular society where you would get all the...
when we did our homework, and that homework also led way to our vision and our aspiration, which was to truly impact quality of life. That's a statement very easy to put down on a piece of paper, but we actually went and broke down what quality of life means. So through first primary research, secondary research, talking to neurologists, neuroscientists, looking at psychological studies, we then composed a 14 bucket metric of quality of life. And we then went about building all elements of our product and service to make sure all of those 14 elements of quality of life were somehow touched upon. We've obviously done better in some, medium in some, and we have a lot of work to do on others. But it was not just random. It was not just, oh, let's have buckwheat waffles. There was a backward step to that, to say one huge element of quality of life is the pleasure of food, as well as how food contributes to nutrition. So when you put those two combinations together, you have to be innovative. Another part of quality of life was being environmentally sustainable. People now want to live in ecosystems that are conscientious. So how are we sourcing those ingredients?
Yes.
What is the philosophy behind who we are working with to source those ingredients? So that buckwheat waffle dish has many components to it other than what we just quickly, consume. And I think that's maybe where we have built the intellectual property, where we stand strong to say we really do stand by wanting to impact quality of life. And there are lots of mistakes we've made on the way, lots of things we have to improve. But our intention is 100% transparent.
Okay. So what would you say is the right age? Okay, this is more of a society and how people brought up and how people are used to living in the country. But what would you say is the right age for someone to start looking at, say, investing in a senior living home? What, according to you, should...
So, we've also come to a realization, Kuchi, that, and this is now how we are going to operate in this space, that there are two types of residential products that can exist for the aging population. One is a lifestyle product that can, of course, should have the infrastructure and services to continue to translate into life care.
Yes.
So your design, your team, your SOP should be able to support the age in place concept, which is a Dehradun-like concept. Yes. We also believe there is a residential product where people will come in when they are frailer, when they are older,
yes,
when the need is more than the want. So they're actually two different products. We call it the aspiration product, yes, and the need-based product.
Okay.
So the aspiration product, which is Dehradun, which will now be Noida, which will be what else we do under our residences for senior vertical, we actually believe you should start thinking about it in your 50s.
Okay.
Because if you know that you are going to want to start to downsize life, start to think about your physical and mental health, and it's a smart idea to lock in capital into an apartment so that you know for the next 20-30 years you have a solid option to take care of. What we call care homes product will actually be basis when the need arises, which is mostly when a health episode will happen.
Okay.
So that you can't really pre-plan. Having said that, I think people don't think enough about funding their retirement. We are living longer, we are continuing to stop work at the same age, therefore our income and our earning is getting stalled. We are not investing, I believe, financially smartly enough to build for that retirement. So planning and investment point of view start the minute you start earning in your 20s. To lock in capital into a lifestyle product, 50s in my opinion, and the care homes piece when the need arises.
Okay, so that's of course Antara, but I'm going to go to the more personal side of you.
Sure.
So now privilege is a term that's very easily thrown around, okay, and I believe yet it comes with its own set of burdens. It's not easy. It's from the outside it looks very different from what it is. Of course, the family that you come from, did you have to face it? How did you deal with that term? What does it mean to you?
For me, I've been fortunate that the term that guides my approach to things is gratitude. As cheesy and cliche as it may sound, I truly stand by it. And I think when that's your modus operandi, the negative connotations of privilege or coming from a family that's potentially more visible than others or doesn't really take any space in my mind. I just think the opportunities that we have been given, the support systems that we have, and the fact that we can spend our time and energy doing things that we feel passionate about. I can't imagine privilege ever being a burden in our context. And we are lucky that our family and our ecosystem has always been very nurturing to us. And therefore, gratitude is really the only thing that defines how I look at my life.
So your father's often said in interviews that I've read that he's proud of the path you've carved for yourself, and you also work with him at the Max Sport. So how different is the personal father-daughter relationship to the one that is the professional one?
It's not very different.
Okay.
My father and I are very similar in many ways.
Okay.
We like to be in control. We like things done a certain way. But I think now we've come to that point where we both are cognizant of that. So we both are able to step out of each other's way and let the other take the lead without there being any rub. Also, I think my father is one of the very few entrepreneurs or self-made men who has really taken succession very seriously. He genuinely has worked hard to give his children the space to do what they wish to do, and he has really supported us unconditionally, as is my mum. So in that sense, because it's so second nature to us to work and to be together, that there isn't really that difference in how we deal with one another. It's the same level of respect, affection and love in our professional relationship and our personal relationship. So that would be how I would respond to your question.
Okay, so you also work with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically you work with the same people you're coming back home to. So how do you strike a work-life balance?
So, my husband and I exist in very different spaces.
Okay.
So Antara is my baby, and therefore Max India, which is our parent company, and everything Max India does is my day-to-day. He is the CEO of Max Ventures, which focuses on our commercial real estate business. So from a day-to-day 9 to 6, 9 to 7, 9 to 8 responsibility, we have two very distinct spaces, and that has been done purposely.
Okay.
Again, because it comes from my personality type, which is, I like my things my way. And he's always been an entrepreneur, and he has different skill sets to me, and therefore we definitely talk about work and take each other's guidance.
Yes.
But our responsibilities are very different. Where the overlap happens is on more strategic things.
Yes.
It's on more the private side of our businesses, where we need to look at take some more strategic decisions. But we've always been clear about KRAs being defined differently for all of us. And I think that's what makes it work. So that work-life balance therefore gets balanced quite easily.
You're also a working mum. So how was that? Did you feel that were there challenges as a new mother to return to the workplace? How has that been? Because it's not always the simplest thing.
I think because I am someone who's had flexibility, I don't work for another organization, and I think that from at least a structural point of view of Monday to Friday, my office, number of hours, I have the flexibility to curate my day and week and month depending on how I need to. But the sense of mental responsibility doesn't have the flexibility, because one feels very, very accountable and very responsible for the work we have taken on. So it's a balance. There are some good days, there are some bad days, but I'm so fortunate that I don't think I can ever complain about the stress levels of being a working mom, because my support system makes it very easy for me to do. But the truth is that I think till I became a mom, I didn't fully empathize with women in this position, and I think it's made me look at organizations and creating workplaces for women differently. So I think that's the next level of application we will have to start to think about.
So what is the diversity like at?
I think we're good, and it's happened naturally. And I do think women are better at certain roles and men are better at certain roles. I think it's just a DNA piece. And I think we've been able to manage diversity quite well. Could we do better? Of course. But I think we're quite balanced at Antara. I don't have the statistics up my sleeve, but I think we do quite well.
Okay, so you've managed to combine healthcare and, if I could say, hospitality. So what's next?
There's so much to be done in this space. The truth is, like I said, we're just embarking on Antara 2.0. Our board has just approved our new 5-year strategy plan. Rajat.
Can you tell me what is Antara 2.0?
Sure. So Antara 2.0 will essentially play in 3 areas.
Okay.
We will continue to play in the residences vertical. So like I said, the Dehradun concept,
Yes.
Noida concept. Our second vertical will be care homes, where they are going to be smaller units in very urban settings in communities in Delhi. We will start, which will be the need-based product. So there will be our version of assisted living. And then we also will start home care. So for the people who do not want to shift into either vertical A or vertical B, we will start to give them services at home. So it's a very large feat. Antara has a fantastic new MD and CEO in Rajat Mehta, who joined us 6 months ago. And I stepped away as a day-to-day manager, but became an executive chairperson of Antara. So the two of us are really now kind of building the 2.0 vision and now executing it. So there's so much to be done in this space, and we are so keen to focus and stand to be the best products and services in the senior space, that we don't have to look outside of that for any other opportunities, frankly.
Okay, so just before we sign off, I have a flash round for you.
Okay,
So what's on your mind right now?
my little one Veda.
Okay, what do you have for breakfast?
I had a boiled egg, avocado, and a quinoa chia toast, because I have that every day. So you can ask me my sleep and I'll give you the same answer.
Okay, success to you is?
Feeling joyful.
How do you unwind?
Sleep.
Okay, what keeps you grounded? Or who keeps you grounded?
I think my daughter.
Okay, what makes you want to wake up and go to work each day?
Just knowing that there is some level of impact that we can make in someone's life.
And one last one. Are you a perfectionist?
I consider myself to be one. I don't know if the outcome is perfect, but I would like to think of myself as one.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tara.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.